I'm going to speak today on to be free from karma, or to be karma-free. We have one or two teachers in the latter part of the 1800s for bringing to the United States and to the Western world the knowledge of karma. In the schools of teaching and instruction, it has been sometimes unfortunate that the word karma has been used glibly, covering many things, and thus giving us something to lean upon as to understanding this great system in which we are mechanized and organized. Karma means action, really, and it also means an action which has within it a recoil or a reaction. And if it were not for karma, we would be still in a state of chaos, and we would not yet have been identified as a particle of soul in the present eternity system. In other words, we would be still swimming in a cosmos core of a black hole out in the universe, and we would be awaiting to be born into a world in which karma would be the means in which we would be balanced and proportioned, and which we would have a check rein upon a very precious thing, and that was the will to choose, the will to act, the will to discover, the will to research. But when this great system, which is called a Maya system of an eternity, which is set upon a duality law, a cause and effect, or that is two forces working against each other, similar to physical exercise in which muscle is built in the physical body and in which we have a result of strength, physical. And so our very system is undergoing this great struggle all of the time of the dark and light, of that which is known and unknown, of that which is guilt and not guilt, and that which is love and hate. And this is working in what we call a duality system of alternates. And this is strengthened in man as conscience, and it is also given to man to work with it and sometimes fight it and resist it. And the more he resists it, the more he comes to be engrossed in karma. Now, I am told by the great wisdom enlightenment on the inner planes that there would be no karma if there were not someone to share it with us. In other words, every time you do a negative thing, you could not make karma unless someone or some object or something was at the other end of that doing or that act. Thus, you have karma because of your attitude toward a person, if it is unethical. And this is a negative karma. Now, the high side of karma is called dharma, which means blessing, which means support, and in Niscience, which we call grace. And so, when we understand karma, that we could not, unless we have a companion to act with us or against us, there would be no karma made. And there's another thing to remember in the understanding of karma and its work in our life, is that where love is, there is no karma. And the only thing to free us from karma is love. And this is the meaning of love that is totally releasing, totally impersonal, totally dispassionate. So we understand these things and understand ourselves better. Now, there are nations who are soiled with karmic electricity. Some of these nations are soiled with black electricity, which is an energy form of retribution in which nations suffer great plagues and great perils and tremendous things which cause unhappiness or conditions to masses of people. This is black electricity karma. And it has been invoked and brought to the surface of mankind and their suffering because of sin, because of error. And the sins which we know are lust, hatred, greed, envy, and pride. All of these negativities which invoke to us these tremendous sins in our constant progressing and struggle in this existence. In my present research on my book, Kundalini West, which I am writing, I am learning more and more of the Maya system and of its very fineness and how it is motivated in a particular way, that the Maya system is a system of energies which are constantly interrelated, interdependent on one another, and energies also contesting one another, the whole Maya system. And this builds an illusion to man. And when he's engrossed in it, he thinks that this is the only life, is that he's involved in the struggle. He does not realize that he can step out of karma, beyond the vibration of karma, beyond the vibration of Maya. Now, the system of Maya decides how many units of time you have when you're born in this earth, each life. And it decides also how, to some degree, karma decides before you are even born certain patterns, certain things. And this karma you have set into the Maya system and into the earth by certain things you have done in past lives. And these are the signposts of the life. When a little infant comes in this world, it inherits the karma it has built upon and founded in many lives. And in many cases, this karma comes from the most recent life, and sometimes in very advanced disciples, it comes from lives way back in the memory of history of man. And we know that the more highly evolved you are, more sensitive you are to the helping of other persons regarding their karma, the more you will bring to yourself certain suffering, certain sensitivity, certain exposure to karmas of others. So only those souls who are aware of this tremendous karmic penalty for taking over the lives of others through assisting them to be released from their karma, the great responsibility which comes to a teacher who is enabling you to step out of your karma and giving you certain methods of dharma through which you may move beyond the vibrations of karma. So we are seeing now more and more that we work out karma in many, many ways. First, it is now given to us in this glorious period of time of great change and energy. We are working with the red electricities of karma. While we have the black electricities of national karma in the background, and our offenses in nations and nations against the peoples within nations, we still have a red electricity karma which has to do with humanity and individual souls. And this red electricity karma only comes upon mankind when he must do a particular or certain thing. He must rise to something beyond the ordinary, and that he might achieve what is intended out of the destiny pattern. For you must remember, I have said repeated, that your karma, which you have made yourself, is your fate, and you are responsible for this, and you must work it out. And with the help of a teacher, you can work it out with a relaxed rein or check rein, and you can stand back from it and observe it in other dimensions, and thus understand it. And in that way, understand yourself, which is one of the greatest gifts God has given to us, is to know ourselves and to understand ourselves and to move out of the egotistical shell which has bound us for ages and sometimes aeon, in which we think ourselves to be one thing when in reality we are another. So in teaching or being taught, the teacher first gives you the direct instruction. In other words, karma is not made unless it has an object with which it can be made, or a person against whom it is made or with whom it is made. And karma in the physical life is especially related to physical objects. In the etheric life is especially related to the use of energies. In the emotional life, karma is related to love. In the mental life, karma is related to our mental attitudes, to our thoughts. And much of the mental attitude and thoughts, especially the karma, is worked upon in the night in sleep and dreams. And this is worked upon in the sense of knowing our dreams and knowing our own psychological attitudes in dreams, where we are revealed as the object into which we hear, in which we participate, in which we move into dramas and experience them, and in which karma is shown to us. And looking in the first morning hours of recognition of what is happening, we then recognize karma to be psychologically active in our life, and we bring that pattern over from the dream world and live it in the daytime hours. So I would like to say that karma is magnetically and electrically charged in a memory pattern of record close to the soul. And this is on what we call the soul's medallion. And this record is constantly trying to be incorporated into our mental and emotional consciousness. In other words, it is similar to constantly having a great tape recorder which is constantly reminding you of the karmic debts you came into this world to pay, and constantly reproducing these things in the world, enabling you to pay it. Because it is a grace of Dharma in our lives when we are in the center of a situation through which we are paying off a karmic debt, and we are aware we are paying it, and we accept it gratefully and know that it is the clue and key to our character, and that it is the way in which we will be spiritually illumined by acceptance of karma, regardless of what situation. When one first comes into the state of conscience and consciousness and accepts his karma, he has become a free person, free of karma. And by gradual degrees, he sets free the energy process of his knowing and acting, and in that way setting up grace aspects in his life henceforth with wisdom consciousness. We are so wonderfully made in the mental, the etheric, and the emotional, and the physical life. And when we once realize that they are all interrelated and all working constantly, and that we have processes of the mind that psychology cannot get reached to analyze or to determine, and we have processes of the soul, which we are just beginning to understand, and we have processes of the physical life that we are not taking advantage of. In other words, we know that it is so that in the Chinese life, in ancient times, that when the baby was born and had his first 9 months and was sitting up, there was a ceremony in which he was offered several objects, and the one he reached for was that which was karmically the pattern of his life and was his vocation as well as his karmic pattern. Of course, we know that the Chinese, Egyptians, Atlanteans, and the Hindus have all understood these great laws of karma and have given them to us in various books and various beliefs. But we also know that there's something inherently in the Western ego who does not understand this great law and its fine working in the Maya system and its microscopic action in our life. They simply do not understand, and when they hear the word karma, they are beginning to be more familiar with it, but when they hear the word karma, they sort of brush it off as being, oh, that Eastern thing. Well, we know, of course, that karma is the only word to explain the cause and effect existence related to man's own soul and to the power of reincarnation in his life, and also to the holding the key, especially to past existences or past lives. But I'm thinking more all the time in my own prophetic sight that I'm seeing in the lives of many of you whom I have long ago read your Akashic records and know where you were in past lives, not always telling you because you were not ready for this, because it would have invoked karma upon me to tell you, and it would have invoked karma into your life for you to know before you were ready to receive a past life. And so I'm seeing more and more future lives of persons rather than past lives. I'm seeing past lives, but I'm also seeing the life you right now are working upon in the next life, or possibly 2 or 3. I'm also seeing in some of you that you will avoid certain lives and not have to reincarnate in them at all. And that you will perhaps miss several lives in which karma was there as a debt to be paid, but because you're working through certain practices now spiritually, and that you're going inward and begin to speed up the Maya system of time in you and stepping out of the Maya units of time, you are reaching forth to the time to where you are moving out of the vibration of karma, because that's what karma is. It is a vibration, and it holds you into the pattern of action of former times. And through the power of love, you move out of the wavelength of the vibration, holding you to the fixities of karma. And this is how, when one begins to love universally, begins to love all environments, and begins to live in what is called in the East the bhakti state of love, or that is love of God with every moment of the heart's feeling and thinking, and living in this state, one moves out of several lives of the future. I presently have been seeing into the life of a woman who has spiritual pride, which is the 6th chakra, seated here. Spiritual pride is very much bubbling in vibrations of electricity between the eyebrow center, which is called the command center. And spiritual pride prevents a person from seeing that another person can evolve as they evolve. Spiritual pride is seeing that they have the last word in the teaching. Spiritual pride is seeing that one is some way an exceptional person with exceptional preference for conduct or action or others doing to you. And spiritual pride is this sickness of this woman, and I was holding her in the light and meditating, and I saw her future life. She is to be born in New Zealand, and she is to be part of the Aborigine tribe there, and she is to have large land holdings because it will be the privilege then of that government, and she will be a male. And she will also have the feeling of being outcast because of her skin color, and she will have also the feeling of having much possessions, but frustrated because she has no prestige. And then I see that as a man, she will give birth, give a son, beget a son, and this son will honor the spiritual worlds. So life is very, very peculiar. And what we're doing right now is making tomorrow's life. And what we are doing this very second is making tonight's dreams. And what we are doing tomorrow is making the years ahead of us. And so this is why in the Buddhist teaching, which is flowing into the West, the word now is becoming very prominent because Buddha taught us to live now, in the very day. And Jesus taught us the same thing. He said, sufficient unto the day is the evil thereof. He taught us that we should live one day at a time. Well, if a person is to be karma-free, and he does live one day at a time, he has in that day loosened the vibrations and the dark electricities in his lower nature, and he has moved beyond their range of vibration, and he is living in the degree of supersensible and transcendental light, and he is going into superconscious states more and more, and he is getting to see himself as one with every twig on the tree, with every shell on the beach, and with everything living and animating in this universe. And he becomes not any longer just a total animating physical object, but he becomes what we call a radiating mind with a wisdom consciousness, and he is emanating spiritual power in what we call darshan light. Now this is what we are seeking. Now, we cannot have all saints living in the earth at the same time, or we would be off the total wheel of karma and would not accomplish that thing for which we came. Everyone is saying, why are we here? Why do we have all of this suffering? Why are we engrossed in all of this black electricity? Why are we exposed to the red electricity between men, which causes so much pain and suffering to each other, when every man's hand with a touch of love sometimes has a touch of hate? How are we to be free of this? How are we to be free souls? Well, because God works in the eternals, because he works in the tremendous computer fashion in great universal laws and sets up his cosmos in universes within universes, suns, solar systems, humanities, people progress, all sorts of beings are living out here in this eternity systems. And when we understand this, we realize that took time, which we call eternities and eternals. And it's the same way with oneself. We are on a journey in this earth. And if we were going on a train journey, we would be very glad if there was a proper engineer who was carrying us along those rails. And if we were going in an airplane, we would be very grateful if there was a proper pilot who was taking us. And a person who understands the system of karma, he is grateful that there is this system to keep a check rein on our own foolishness, our fantasies. I'm investigating now more and more the Devachan planes to write this present book, and the Devachan planes are the planes in their lower aspect of fantasy. And I'm seeing that all the suffering in this very world is because of fantasy, of untrained sentiments, of mixed up emotions, and of an inertia and unwillingness to work, and unwillingness to manifest creation in one's own nature, and especially a disbelief and lack of confidence in one's own ability, his own innate qualities of the soul. It is the work of the teacher to introduce you to your soul. Your soul is a generating, superconscious energy field of spiritual power. In your soul, there is movement. If you are in earth and tamas or tamasic, you are resisting soul light and soul power, making karma. So here we are, we have resistance against soul power, that is karma. Resistance against work, that is karma. Resistance against someone telling you how to do a thing, that is karma. Resistance against everything offered to you by God, and all you have to do is take the basket of your consciousness and pick it up. So the thing that we realize in teaching the knowledge of karma is that it is a blessed law existing in this Maya system of eternity system. Now in my investigation in writing this book, I'm seeing that this eternity system which we live in has a sun, and it has its accompanying planets, and it has its moon. All of these are influencing the charge of vibration in our solar plexus, the lower planetary aspects of the planets, and the higher aspects of the planets are affecting our spiritual consciousness and the movement of our soul and the higher mentality. And I'm seeing also that these forces are constantly playing upon us, and that they are resulting in our psychological actions, and that all of these are shaping and molding us. And you say to yourself, well, if there is a system of Maya, and as Henry tells us, that this system is an eternity system which is duality in its heaviest aspect, and the karma result here is very heavy, the suffering is very heavy, but I'm also told spiritually that outside of that suffering there's great music, and that the very spinning core of our eternity system has great musical tones, and that if we can unite with these musical tones spiritually through meditation, we can move out of the karma. I'm also told in the planes that our eternity system is much slower than some others, and that is, our Earth, planets, and sun, because we only have one sun. And also because we have a moon that is orbited so close to us. We have a particular type of people in this earth who are vibrating in the red electricities of blood, and who are communicating with each other through telepathies of blood, kinship, friendship, and mass kind of humanity. And I'm seeing that our eternity system, which we are in, produces a certain kind of consciousness that cannot be produced in any other eternity system, just as each of us is a unit of a perfection and a unit of development, and no one is like us because we have been alchemized throughout the ages and ages and ages to make what we are today. We are not a piece of debris. We are not an accidental happening. We are formulated out of ages of time of experimenting in this earth and of suffering, of dying and living, of being happy and of being associated and of believing in God. So we are here now to develop a certain type of consciousness to produce a certain thing. Now, many people have said to me over and over and over and over, years ago, if Jesus was the great messenger, the Messiah, was that one the Christ filled, why did he have to die on the cross? Was he not free of karma? And the answer is, Jesus was free of karma. He had no karma. He had no karma in past lives. He had no karma in this life. But the world was full of karma. So they made the world, the humanities, the body of the earth, made a resistance against Jesus. This made karma for the world. But because Jesus was crucified and understood these divine electricities of the spiritual as well as the kinetic electricities of the earth and the blood electricities of the earth, Jesus knew how to get out of his body anytime he wanted to and look over the world. And he could see everything that was going on in humanity. And at the point of the time, at the last time before he died, and I have seen this in experiencing the passion of Jesus in his crucifixion. I've seen it year after year after year. I'm with Jesus on the cross, and I experience his release from that cross, and I experience what he does. And that is that he understood the vibrations of this earth and the core of this earth and all of its energy so that he could master these great forces. And in mastering them, he mastered the forces in us. And he mastered it through forgiving love. And this is how one is free from karma. Every person has resurrection power of love in him to love himself out of any disagreeable, any hateful, any painful situation, to move out of it, to move beyond the vibration of pain which is trying to circle you in. The vibrations of the red and black electricity come in closer and closer in a spherical action around you. But the vibration of love is the freeing, the expanding beyond the vibration wavelengths of pain and suffering. I have experienced in my own body thousands of times the freedom from pain. I have experienced it by moving along and out of the wavelength of the mild vibration of pain and suffering. This is true healing. I have been the channel to heal thousands of people through this same power. And that is the moving out of the vibration of that suffering into the total transcendental power of motion of the soul, and moving one beyond that which is the Maya holding a person fixed in a vice of suffering and pain. Over and over, I see and encounter people who have a blood clot of karma in their brains. And they think constantly around that karma. They are making canals and little circuits. Their thoughts go around this little bundle of electricity karma in their brain and brain energy and in their thought process. And there they move around that. They hate a person. Instead of dissolving that with love and exploding it like an atom bomb, they continue to go around and round and make a heavier and heavier groove, hating, not forgiving, holding things against a person, fearing a condition, fearing new things, always building up this clot over the brain and the etheric encasement of the brain. I see that constantly in my work of helping others. Turn loose, let go of every hatred. Stop anxieties, release it all to God. Surrender all of these things to be free in the state of love. Bring light into your environment, regardless of how it is, where jealousies and hatred and separations are keeping this world in the state of the red electricities of karma. There are many degrees of karma. There's the hypocrisy, which is one of the most sordid and ugly ones. And there is the dividing entity person, who is a karmic pawn in your life, perhaps, who came into your life and upset it, who pulled the lever for your whole life to be changed. You must bless that person. You must love that person. No matter what a person has done to you, you must kiss the dust from their feet as you would kiss the dust from the feet of Jesus. And you must realize, to be karma-free, you must love. Do not say it in any command from me as a human, but through that which is the love of God and which has been proved over and over in your life and in mine. Because this is a beautiful earth, the skies are so wondrous. The mountains, such sentinels of great strength and blessing, grace. The rivers, so beautiful in cleansing and flowing. The sunsets and the sunrises. And because we love this world, we do not want to leave it. Even though we have polluted it with our karmic electricities and atmosphere and have abused it, and have scarred it with our sins going up like noxious atmospheres. And we have worshipped lately the hideous or the hideosity. We have reproduced it in our life wherever there is a cult of ugliness. All of that is coming out of the seepage of our own psychology. We are now beginning to move towards spiritual things. And we are moving towards them desiring with our whole hearts and souls to live within love, in the bhakti love of adoration to God, and in the wisdom consciousness of jnana, knowing and thinking. We are praying to expand our wings of our souls and to stand at the very peak and apex of a humanity. This is what the American trial is in the soul trial of spiritual initiation. Many races together, many minds of great creation who have lived in this earth as great and advanced egos in past lives. In this present time, the American body is a crucible for old Egyptians incarnating in this earth, for old Chinese, for old Hindus, and for many, many other peoples and civilizations we have forgotten the name of, and they have been buried in cosmic dust and fallout a long time ago. But they are inside of you, they're inside of me. We are meeting together as souls, uniting. We must work with a purpose to come together in a God-filled unit householder action of worship, God handful of persons, and building there the nucleus of a body through which the radiation of our minds and the soul powers and all of our dear loves we wish to aspire to and have. We are seeking to do this now. In the Niscience system, we are doing it. It is said that we have one of the most profound bhakti bodies, or that is love body, ever encountered in spiritual atmospheres. And I say it without personal pride. I know that we do. And all of this we are building and hoping for, but we must remember self-responsibility begins with the first foot on the door to the path. Responsibility, self-control, self-responsibility, love, which is total love, without deceit or deception, without twisting or turning, but love which is direct from the heart and which is pure and which is a channel God can use, a channel for his life and love and power. If we could automatically place our deceits outside of that door and our very separations and our fears and anxiety, it would make such a bonfire that you could not see the city. It would be larger even than that which was made on the square in Florence, Italy, when Savonarola was hanged and then burned. There he had formerly placed all of the frivolous things that his congregation had, and they had gone up in the conflagration of fire and burning. And his own body was later to lay or lie upon that same flagstone, and today that monument is there. So shall we take these frivolous things which we do not need There's not enough time in this Maya system to be fooling around and playing around with spiritual things, or with metaphysical things, or with the knowledge of reincarnation or karma. We must understand that these are valid, not just concepts of the human mind, but they are perceptions of that experience which every great soul has confirmed and who is living it to his uttermost ability, that we may take of his feathers as from a pelican and make our own nest for a spiritual life. Now, beloved ones, I'm going to let Jonathan talk to you, and we are going to have a little mala exercise when Jonathan has finished, because some of you would like the malas today, and also because, as you know, next week, starting on Thursday night at right ending Jonathan's and my home, we are going to start a meditation on Thursday night, Friday night meditation, and then a banquet, and Jonathan will announce a new location for this banquet. And this will be on Friday night, and then Saturday, as you know, will be the most gorgeous plaisance here, beautiful, and it will be set to the Jewel of the Lotus, my song I wrote, and also the lyrics and the music. This will be worked out in a beautiful plaisance exercise and dance directed by Christina Lee. And also there will be a banquet of food here on Saturday night. Sunday we will have the world meditation and the various speakers of nations who are coming from everywhere. And we want you to be here and bring your friends. God bless you. I love you.